Views and opinions expressed on the following program are those of the hosts and guests, and not necessarily those of the staff or management of alltalkradio.net.
Here I am, standing at the door, looking back at life as it's been before, holding on to things that might have been, knowing that this day will never come again, as my spirit's guiding me.
Hi, this is Elena Risto, and you're listening to Soul Chat, and this is my co-host,
Cozy Meyer.
Oh, she knows her name. Now she's in the chair where I used to be, where I had to think of what my name was every time before I said it. So welcome. We're going to talk today about physical cues that our body gives us on how to clear our chakras, which is something you don't hear a lot. You hear a lot of things like you go to a healer and a healer does their thing, but this is kind of what can you do for yourself. You and I had this great conversation a couple of weeks ago about the way you stand and how you're doing certain things. So we just decided that we were going to do a show on this. But before we do that, if anybody wants to call in, you can call in at 702-609-7626, or if you're on Skype, you can type in All Talk Radio. It's broadcasting live, and I just found out, this is how long have I been doing this now?
Just a couple days.
A couple days, yeah.
About a week or two.
Yeah, you can watch this while you're on Facebook as well, right? So what do? They just...
The link will go live onto mine, and anybody else that shares it around, they just click on it, and it opens right up.
Okay. So you can do that. It's on Twitter too, right? Okay. I haven't crossed Twitter. Did you know last night that Facebook was down for over an hour?
Oh, no.
Yeah, I got a friend in the studio.
I found that out the hard way. You know,
I
with
did
me,
too.
I was like trying to upload some things, and I was like, where's everything at?
Yeah.
And
And
then
it was Instagram too.
Yeah, everything got nailed last
What
night.
was it? Did they get a
I
virus
don't know.
or something?
It was just going through the network of everything. It was just a lot of things that were going down, electrical problems and
Ooh,
devices
a little,
and things.
Mercury
Probably a little,
retrograde.
yeah.
Mercury retrograde, solar flare?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We had a solar flare too, didn't we?
So, I don't know. That's what I'm
Oh,
wondering.
I don't know. I thought there was one. Yeah, I thought there was.
We
one.
had that comet pass very close by.
Well, let's blame it on something.
Okay, the comet Mercury retro
Whatever.
mess up.
Yeah, the mess up.
Wow. No, it's interesting to think about. The solar flare could wipe out everything we have.
Oh, yeah.
And nobody would see us today.
Yeah, obviously it didn't because we're still here.
Yeah,
That we're
right.
figments of.
No, we could still be here, but the equipment would not be working.
That's
anymore.
true. That's true. What would we do if the power grid went down? I don't want to start.
Bullhorns and out front.
Right. Was it Jeremy Womack? I saw him. Didn't he post earlier today? He posted something about, Facebook was down for an hour last night. What did you do? Did you tear your hair out, or did you go read a book, or did you sing, or did
I had no
What did we
idea it
do?
was down, so...
Well, give yourself an hour tonight and shut it off. So one of the things that we've done for a while, and I'll give you a chance to think about it. If you don't have anything, that's fine. But we used to start the show with, and we still do, with what did I learn about myself last week? Yeah. Oh, I see that look of terror in your eyes.
No, it's
yeah.
an interesting thought.
It isn't it? So think about it for a minute. What I learned about myself last week, is my son finally got here. He's been planning to move down. And it's been an interesting experience since last Wednesday night because I spent quite a bit of time by myself, Now I've got somebody in the house again. And it's interesting to walk downstairs and, oh, there's somebody here I can have coffee with. Oh, there's somebody else the dog can taunt, and have a problem with, But it's that I didn't realize how isolated I had made myself on just little things. And what was I getting out of that? And I've gotten more done since he's been in the house than I had the previous 3 weeks. And we've had a lot of, as you know, in my family, we've had a lot of upheaval with my mom passing and that kind of thing. So I haven't quite gotten to the bottom of it yet, but what I could say is what I'm learning about myself is that I truly am a social creature, and I do like having people around, which is a little interesting. I didn't.
Elena is human.
I know, but I'm just a happy camper. I'm not a party girl, and I'm an entertainer. I mean, I've been out, George has experienced it. I just suddenly disappeared at a party that it was for, it was an open house or something, wasn't it, George? At an open house, and I just sat there. I forced myself to stay because I wanted to feel what was going on. And then I got to a point where I went, I'm done. And I told somebody, and then I was gone, so he didn't even know I left. So what I'm learning is that there are parts of me that are very much a social, I appreciate having people around.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, it's a good thing.
Yeah.
So did anything come up for you?
What did I learn about myself?
Yeah.
Gosh, there's lots of things. It's like it's been a whole week.
I know. Just pick one.
I've learned a why in my life.
A what? A why? A why. Oh, that's interesting.
And, I'm a Toastmaster.
Right.
And in Toastmasters, everybody comes there
now,
scared.
if not everybody knows what a Toastmaster is, it's not a bunch of people get together and make toast.
No, we don't toast. It has nothing to do with the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Toastmasters is an international club, and it encourages people to get over their fears of public speaking. Mm-hmm. And you would never know a few years ago I couldn't sit here and do this. But Toastmasters, it understands that basic fear. The premises of Toastmasters understands that basic fear of getting up and speaking. And I found out my why this week with this because I watched a young lady get up and do her icebreaker. Now, 3 months ago, she would barely say hi to any of us. Mm-hmm. Yesterday, she stood up there for 10 minutes and poured her heart out to us. Wow. Succinctly and clearly, and kept it together in such a way that was just so very beautiful. I mean, TED Talks, here she comes. But that was my why, is that I do go to Toastmasters every week to help other people find their voice, because we all need to say our story.
So what did you learn about yourself? You didn't think you were giving anything, or what?
I didn't realize how impactful I was in the group.
Oh, yeah.
Because she came up to me afterwards and says, I couldn't have done it without you.
Yeah.
And all I did was just talk to her. The funny thing, though, is talking about some of the things we will later on. Uh-huh. And I was so proud of this young lady because she showed up and she could barely talk. Her voice was like this.
Yesterday?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when this talk happened? Okay.
When she gave her speech yesterday, her voice was just hoarse. And she says, I know I'm fine. I know there's nothing wrong with me. I'm doing this anyway.
Oh, yeah.
And we know exactly why I did that.
This seems a little hot, George. This mic situation. Okay. I'm better. It was ringing. I had an overring happening. It was like, wow. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So anyway, yeah.
But I didn't realize I had done something to encourage her. So even though I go there being afraid and not sure what I'm doing, someone else has looked at me as being confident enough.
Surprise. Good job. Good job.
That human stuff, right?
It is that human stuff. Yeah, it is that human stuff. It's really that. So, well, good. So, as usual, it's a big week. How about you, George? Did you have anything you learned?
Yeah. Never pee in the wind.
That's an old one.
I just found it out, though.
Oh.
You found out why you don't do that.
Yes, I did. The hard way.
It wasn't today, right?
Nope, it was yesterday, right before the storm.
Okay. Oh. Okay. So you knew so that's how you know a storm is coming.
That's how you know.
That's how you know. Okay. Okay. Done. Next.
Not my weather vane.
That's good. Okay. Well, we're gonna move on. We're gonna talk about chakras, and I'm putting my glasses on because I printed off some stuff here to look at. And chakras are that thing, you hear it thrown around a lot. you hear that, well, somebody's chakras are blocked, or somebody's has this funny color to it, or there's many things, and it's an energetic quality. It and you talk to some people, and there are certain cameras that will take pictures of the auric field. There's a newer camera than this, but the one I'm familiar with the most recently is the GDV camera. It's the gas discharge video file or something. I'm not sure what the V stands for. But it literally will take pictures of the gas discharge of the body, the ions, of the body, and it will take this picture. People say, well, it's like the aura. It's not. It's a little different. And I've seen pictures where they'll take it before someone has, like in shamanism, they'll take a picture before a soul retrieval, and then we'll take one 2 or 3 days later, and you can see where there were holes and gaps and valleys and whatever. It's more uniform. It's very interesting.
It is.
But they've been taking pictures of auras for years, and the chakras are the points where the energy meet, energetic centers of the body. Okay. And in some frameworks and some modalities, they have the energy coming in from the root chakra, and in some of them they have it coming from the crown. I'm more familiar with the crown, although I like to bring it up either way through the center of the body. And there's certain physical places in the body that correlate with chakras, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So when you're talking about chakras, if something is out of balance, and there are certain colors that are designated to the chakras, and we were just going through that, so we've got this list here. So which one is it? The root chakra.
The root chakra, yeah, is red.
It's red.
Yes.
And then, do they have the colors
Yeah,
on
they
this
do.
one? Yeah, okay, there you go, right there.
Yeah,
so
I was
it's
right.
red. You were right. Good job. You get a star. Orange for the abdomen, or the second chakra, which is about the creative part. It's the
That's
sexuality.
the sacral chakra.
Sacral chakra, right. And the root chakra is usually about home. It's about physically being there and feeling at home in situations. It's the root. It's what it talks about. And then there's the solar plexus, which that one is yellow. Mm-hmm. And for me, when my solar plexus gets tight, it's an issue where I'm feeling out of control. It can mean, some people will say, well, that's the way it is. Everybody describes their own. Certain things mean certain things to other people. So where did it go? They call it the navel chakra. Here's about asserting yourself in a group. So yours must be, it would be interesting for you to check in to see when you're in Toastmasters, what is your solar plexus doing?
Oh, I know what it's doing.
Okay.
It's the butterflies.
Yeah, okay.
It's the butterflies that come up.
Yeah. So there's some interesting things here, and that one's yellow. And then the heart chakra, they've got this one as green, but we've seen it as pink.
I've seen it as pink or green, so it really varies.
It really varies. The throat chakra is blue. The third eye is like an indigo, and they have this one at the crown is purple.
Yeah.
And then there are more than 7. I mean, depending on which system. You can go in the Vedic system, and there's like 84. I mean, if you go into the Hinduism and some of those, they see it in a different way.
And then there is some of them that each joint has. So
right.
There is a chakra point in each joint
right.
as well.
When we were talking about this the other day, and you brought it up, you were bringing up about something you had read, and what I thought was interesting, because there are things that they didn't know in Western culture. They didn't know about chakras. It's not part of our culture. It's not part of our spiritual upbringing. It's not part of the Christian religion as such, like it is in Hinduism, and some of the other Eastern philosophies and religions. But so does that mean if you're not aware of them and you don't believe that they exist, they don't exist?
I don't know. Do you have to believe in electricity
No,
for it to work?
So.
You flip the switch and it's on.
Right. So for this purpose of this talking about it today, it's really about what can we do? Let's just all agree for this hour that they're real, and if they were out of balance, what could you do if you don't go to somebody? What are some of the physical things you can do besides finding a pranic healer, besides finding someone, an energy healer that's going to put them back in balance? I mean, what does that all mean? What does that mean to you? Because you're an LMT, you do energy work, I do
all
well.
of those things, but I also do believe that we are all capable of tapping into our own healing powers without necessarily, especially if you've ever done it with somebody else, it makes it that much easier, because then you recognize what's gone on. But we all have the ability to be able to tap into that ourselves and to work with it. you don't have to go someplace else.
No, you
No.
could do it yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, what came up when we were talking about it the other day was my dad was a farmer. He worked out in the field, and if he wasn't working at the hardware store, he was working all the time. And he lived to 96, so his chakras must have been doing okay, I would think. Would you say that your general health probably is a good way to tell what your chakras are doing? Is that a fair statement?
I would definitely say so. Basically, it's all the same thing, in my opinion.
I think so.
Blocked chakras causes disease.
But what does that mean when it's blocked? Because one thing I heard one time is that the chakras, when they're all blocked, you're dead. Which would make sense, because if nothing's working, if they're the crossing points of energy as it's circling through your body, if nothing can move, something serious is going to happen at the very least.
If the energy can't move, for one, it's not
Right.
going to go where it's supposed to. It's going to be too much in one spot. Yeah, it's not pretty.
Yeah, that wouldn't be good. That
I
wouldn't be
can't
good.
imagine that. But blocked could be everything from. I think of them as sometimes as drains.
Mm-hmm.
So you can have it so they're not lining up, so the energy's not flowing all the way through. So you have too much energy down below or too much energy above.
Now,
That's
when you've worked on people, have you felt that?
Yeah, where it's not so much it's stopped, it's just not, things aren't lining up where it can flow through. Whether it's because of belief system or there's physical things that are blocking it.
Could be emotional. I would
emotional.
think emotional would have.
Emotional is
By
a
the
lot.
time it's a physical problem, the roots are emotional. So by the time it becomes physical, you got a really, really dense situation going on.
Yeah, even the things that we think are not related to the emotional and the energetic are. So yes, you think the back hurts because of the car accident.
Mm-hmm.
What caused the car accident in the first place?
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't just because the guy was a jerk.
Or the girl.
Right. But you know what I'm saying? It's not because of that. It's a whole long thing that you get
Right.
there. And it is it's the back is the final thing. Now I've seen people work backwards and they'll go, "Oh, I've done the EFT and I've done the emotional healing, I've done the energetic healing, and I've done all these things." What they forgot was to have someone touch them.
Okay, so talk about that. What's that? So what do you mean by that? So
It's all these years of the emotional, the energetic, and all these things that built up a pattern. Okay, so let's say I'm shouldering a burden.
Okay.
Shouldering a burden, and this pattern is developed. Well, all the stuff's been lifted, and it doesn't hurt quite as much, but this part over here
Still doesn't work.
doesn't know that it can still go back here. It's gotten to a point in a pattern that this thinks it's normal.
Oh, so it's about re-educating it.
Re-educating it, letting it know that it has another option, that it's not carrying that thing anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And then that can be gone. And those are like the greatest ones, because you've already taken care of the energy and the emotional, so the physical goes away really fast.
But if it's not working, is it truly in balance? Do you think?
What, the body's not working?
Yeah. What if the
No.
shoulder? Could you completely take care of the energetic and still have the shoulder not work? Will it work maybe better?
It will work better and it won't hurt as much.
Okay.
Okay, but the thing is like this healer that came to me, she said, "I don't understand." And then we did some body work on her. Like, wow, it was just she had never thought it was like putting Band-Aids over and over again, or healing it, but not taking the stitch out or something.
So
Like,
it truly is a combination of body, mind, spirit.
it really is.
Yeah,
It
okay.
really is. You can't do one without the other. Sometimes we can clear ourselves really deeply emotionally, but those patterns, physical patterns, we live in a body.
Yeah.
Those physical patterns
Yeah.
take a minute. You have to reset them. When I was a mechanic, you'd put a new set of tires on the car, but if you didn't put it back into an alignment again, it would wear the tires out again.
So it's
So-
not. So it is about taking care of everything
It is.
at the same time.
It's not the same time, because not always will it happen at the same
Right.
time.
Right. Right.
In my own experiences, I had to take off this layer and then that layer, and then somewhere along the line, someone came around and we did. Wasn't even supposed to happen. It was just a class, a physical healing that took away a lot of the old physical stuff, which then put me on a different path for my emotional and energetic healing. But without the other parts, first of all, I don't think I
So
would have gotten
having
there.
everything all one way, like in anything, just doesn't work.
No.
There isn't one way to do anything.
No.
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 I'm not going to say all of them because I don't know, but the ones I'm familiar with, which is Reiki and polarity therapy, and I'm somewhat familiar with pranic only because I have friends that have done it. You really, it's not the healer that's doing the work. It's about being a funnel for the energy to support the body because the body's actually healing itself.
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
And that's why you can do it yourself when you're dealing with chakras.
Mm-hmm.
Either by doing some chakral exercises, which, believe it or not, these sound very simple here. They're just moving and shaking and grooving.
Well, let's do that. Let's go through this one, which I thought was this is called physical exercises to clear your chakras. So let's start at the, well, this is interesting. This is the aura, but that I would think you would want to do that after you'd done everything to everything else. Do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So let's start at the root here. So it says you do your root chakra by stomping your feet upon the ground and marching in place and doing squats, which makes sense because shamanically, of course, I'm all about Mother Earth. It really is about making that connection to the ground.
And it's moving that blood through the legs.
Okay. So
It's
now
moving
you
the
showed me that
energy.
book that you had been looking at, and you said, look at this picture. So talk about that a little bit.
Well, when we hold
What else
our-
would you do with the root?
With the root?
Mhm.
Well, that book has not to do with this as much, but
Right.
it's interesting. But the root, what I do with the root would be very much similar to this, and that is to bring the attention to the leg area
Okay.
and to move that through the feet so they can come up through the feet.
Mm-hmm.
And stomping around and doing squats does get it. Because you got to think, the chakras go through the body physically in the major areas of nerves, where they're at, the joints, the movement. So when we're talking about the energy, like I said before, if the physical is corroded, it can't move as well. So the feet, legs, moving the legs around.
Well, and I think, too, if I remember, it's been a long time since I've seen it, but if you look at the neural pathways, it seems to me that they cross right where the chakra points are, where everybody kind of says they are. And, of course, it's not an exact spot. I mean, it's an energetic field, so it's so many inches. I know in sound healing, what is said is with the vibrations from a set of tuning forks, it needs to be within about 2.5 inches of the point. So if you figure it's got, that would give it a 5-inch diameter or something like that.
Something like that. But
Yeah.
yeah, every time I've seen the pictures of the where the chakras and stuff are, yes, it is a major nerve, muscle, joint spots.
Okay.
And I met somebody one time that said that massage was started in India, not for just because it felt good, but so people can sit and meditate. They knew 5,000 years ago, whatever it was, that they started doing all this stuff, that if the body was hurting, nobody was going to sit still for very long.
Oh, I can't.
So that probably started putting these things together, because it's very interesting looking at the science of it, and then the history and the roots and of all of it, and then you start overlaying the different things, and you begin to understand.
Right.
For me, I do it. It's that mechanical brain of mine.
Well, thank God for it. I mean, yeah.
But
Yeah. Okay, so what's the next one? So there we have the sacral is...
The sacral is pelvic thrusts and circular pelvis movements.
So that's that belly dancing kind of stuff, right?
And that's kind of like what I was talking to you about with self stuff, is that your root, and you guys can't see me, is below the sacral. So that's kind of like right below where all the good stuff is, all of our sexual organs is the root. The sacral is right above that. So I also like to massage myself in through those areas.
Yeah.
Because we stand and we don't move very well.
We don't move a lot.
Anymore like your dad did.
Yeah.
Your dad was connected.
Oh, he was always out in the field. He was always climbing up and down off a tractor. He was always running after some animal that got out, and he had to go get it. He was always moving, always moving,
His
always
core
moving.
was strong.
His core was strong. And our bodies, if you look at the predominant job in this country, especially in this country now, because our manufacturing has gone overseas, everybody's good jobs now these days are technical. They're sitting. We spend a lot of time sitting. We spend a lot of time when we get home. We can't wait till we sit down. So getting up and moving, getting up and walking, even just walking would help.
It's going to wake those chakras up. And think about it. We don't feel comfortable in our homes.
Right.
Energy's being stopped.
Yeah, that's right.
We're not being creative always. We're watching TV. We're just sitting there staring and being amused.
Yeah. Or not being amused and just zoning out.
No, being That still is a big. That's more of an amusement than you think. The word amuse literally means without muse.
Oh, that's right. That's it would,
Without
wouldn't
our
it?
own creativity, we are sitting and letting something else fill
Yeah.
our mind instead of being creative.
Yep.
We were without a muse.
Ooh.
Anyway, I always
Okay.
thought that was a cool
That's
thing.
cool. That's probably the thing I learned off the show today is I'm going to go home. I'm going to tell my son that when I get home, you know. So, and just so people know, my son isn't a little kid. He's a big kid. He's like 32. He'll be amused.
No.
Yeah. Okay, so what's the next one? Next one is the solar plexus. Well,
Yes.
this is the dancing. Look at how that works because it's stomping. You can see how the energy moves there because you're stomping your feet, and then there's this pivoting
and-
pelvic thrust, you know, which is a big one in yoga. You know, I think the first time I went into a stretch and they said, "No, let your belly button look at your backbone." I was like, "Are you serious? Can it?" I didn't know it could do that, you know. But look at how the energy's moving. It's coming up through the legs and it's going through the root, and then it's going into the sacrum. And now we're at the place where it's the chakra by dancing to the twist, the hula hooping, and belly dancing. Wow.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing too is that depending on who you listen to, but one perspective is that the way that the male energy charges itself is a lot of activity, like, well, we have football and we've got, you know, there's this forward motion kind of thing, but the way the feminine recharges is through dancing. It's that movement, it's that fluidity, it's so the solar plexus. And I learned this week that there is, and people can call in and correct me if they want, I won't have the name right, but the point, it's called the CV8, C as in cat, V as in Victor 8. It's the point on the meridians.
Conception vessel.
Yeah, something. That is the one point in the body that affects both the emotional and the physical. And that's the belly button. And that it's a very important point in yoga on the meridians. So I thought, I'm going to look at that. I'm going to find out what that one's all about.
Yeah, that's the conception.
Yeah.
vessel, and then the GV is the governing vessel, which is up here.
Yeah, yeah. So now we're into the solar plexus area. So what is the heart? The heart is by doing push-ups, swimming, breaststrokes, and hugging yourself. That's not something we often do, is to hug ourselves.
No.
And we
No.
wouldn't think about doing that.
When was the last time you said that you loved yourself?
Well, yeah.
With your own names.
Or say, geez, I haven't had a hug. I've got nobody's hugged me in a long time. Well, why isn't our second thought, well, I guess I'll give myself a hug? How does that work? You know? And that would clear. So these are interesting, okay? And then the next one is the throat chakra, can't even talk. By gargling with salt water, singing, or screaming.
Have you ever done the screaming to get rid of it?
Oh, I've done screaming. We don't want to hear that, you know.
No, but it's...
But it's always been interesting to me because I have a thyroid problem and I have a goiter, which has been there for 30 years. It's stable. Every time they take a picture of it, they go, yep, still really large and it's still really there. And I'm a singer. So what is that all about?
I don't know. It'd be interesting to see what the next chapters of your life bring.
Yeah, it would, wouldn't it? Because I've done a lot of singing in my life. Actually, this is the first time in my life I haven't done as much singing as I used to do. And it's still stable. It's still there. And every medical person takes a run at it, and every energetic person takes a run at it, and it's just there.
Sometimes a cigar is just a cigar.
Or a duck is just a duck. Yeah, right. Okay. All right. Okay.
That's all. I mean, it's your experience. That's what
Yeah.
I would say. That's
Yeah.
what your experience is for.
So that's the throat chakra, and what's the other one?
The brow chakra.
Third eye.
Third eye. Third eye.
And-
And saying here, use visualization and remote viewing and lucid dreaming. I would say also practice the opening and closing it.
Yeah. Well, I do lucid dreaming all the time because journeys are a form of lucid dreaming.
Well.
If they aren't lucid dreaming, they're a form of it.
Isn't most altered states of consciousness that lucid dreaming?
I kind
I
of would
mean-
think so, but it seems to me that lucid dreaming, I think the thing that differentiates it is that you actually feel like you're there. You actually feel like, and it's a state you can go into without going to sleep. So, in my world, in the shamanic world, anytime that we go to the other side, we don't care whether we call it the dream time, the theta state, lucid dreaming, it doesn't matter. It has
Just there.
Yeah, I'm just there. I'm there. I'm going. I've got stuff I need to find out about. I'm going to a different kind of library, a different kind of resource to get it. So, okay, so then we have the crown chakra, and that one is through prayer and meditation. So it's interesting because I know a whole lot of healers that do a whole lot of prayer and meditation, but they don't do anything else.
How far is that going?
Yeah, what's it doing? So we're really talking about having some way to activate all of them so that they're all healthy.
Mm-hmm.
So what have you got to add to that? Has you got anything to add to those? And have any thoughts that are coming up?
Not coming up. I do know that we asked about what we can do for ourselves besides these things here. And like I said, if you've ever worked with anybody with chakras, just being able to hold your hand over those places and imagining them whirling and twirling in the colors can help you set yourself right again. So you could do that during the day, in the morning when you get up, and just put your hands in the different places. It's a way of checking in to see. I like to do it as a way of checking in to see what's mine and what's not. Being that I'm empathic, it's good to know.
There's so many of us that are empathic, and I'm seeing a lot now these days that they're talking about, well, here's how to protect yourself if you're an empath. I think we're all empathic. It's how aware are we willing to be? Some of us more than others, but is that because we are more than others, or is that just because we have an awareness that seems to pick up on it?
I don't know.
I can go and find information for other people, and yet I can look for my own car keys for an hour and a half. And not have a clue, or have somebody else call somebody else and say, "Do you have a clue where my keys are?" I haven't called you lately, though, have I? No, I don't.
No,
think
I
so.
don't find keys very well.
No, it's not one of my gifts, But I think it's an awareness. I think it's being open. I think we were talking about this a little bit last week. We were talking about how does the intuition wake up? When does it wake up? With women, it tends to wake up kind of 14-ish when, it's the menstruation thing starts. It's then the hormones are changing. That's a big time. That was a sacred time in the indigenous tribes for women. And, of course, a lot of them were married by the time they were 16, too. So, that was no big deal. But it's coming through. It's coming, and men are getting. We were talking about this last week. We were talking about intuition in males is coming up quite a bit. And I know some very intuitive males in different ways. My brother is very intuitive in different ways. He's a mechanic. And he's, and he knows, and it's not just from history of working with things. He just kind of knows. He has the ability to follow his intuition and go to it.
That was my first.
Yeah.
I was a mechanic first.
Yeah. And why did you leave it?
It was a whole series of things that happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, I literally I got to a point where I'd been working as a fleet mechanic, which means I wasn't really keeping up.
Now wait a minute.
I worked on the same thing
over and over and over again.
And I had a problem with the job where I was at, and she said that I needed to go, and I said yes. So the night that I left there, I drove by Dahan Institute of Massage and signed up for school.
Okay, so you left the
job.
You left the mechanic floor and you walked into Dahan. Nice.
It was like, okay, so this is what's happening in my life. I'm going to go do this. It was literally just that easy for me to switch over, but I couldn't tell you anything other than it was just I did it.
Had you been looking at it before?
Yeah.
Okay.
But not seriously. It was like I had a long story.
Okay. All right. Well, that's another
hours.
show.
But it was just like a country song for me. If you play a country song backwards, you know what they say, right? Get your dog back. Get your truck starts to run. Oh. Your wife comes back.
I heard about every country song has a dog and a truck and a gun and and the girl's gone.
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
So you play it backwards.
Yeah.
It's not satanic.
Song.
You just get all your stuff back. So my life's a backwards country song.
Okay.
All because of what I do.
Okay. Well, I know that energy healing does go around. We're always talking about chakras, and it's just a term that gets thrown around a lot. And it crossed my mind. I thought there's people that don't have access to this, and does that mean it doesn't exist? No. It's like you said, electricity existed even if somebody got struck by lightning and they never had light bulbs in their life. It exists. It's there. Why wouldn't it? So these are interesting. Other ways, can you think of anything else that might help on these things that we've talked about? You know, I mean, it seems awfully simple, doesn't it?
It does, only because I think I've been around it so long. But if you're not familiar with it,
Right.
and
But
it's
swimming makes sense because that would move all the muscles that are working the heart. Because if the organs around those centers need to be kept healthy, you know. Makes sense.
it does.
So swimming, I know that conductors in music usually don't have a lot of heart problems.
Because
They're always doing this. They're always, you know, they're always.
got their
So
hands
there's
up.
a lot of movement, and there's a lot of movement in those tiny little muscles, you know.
So yeah, so this is above the heart.
Mm-hmm.
So moving ourselves helps to keep, not only when we're done, okay, if you do exercise for the joy of it and just doing stuff, sometimes we feel better afterwards because those
Oh,
centers
yeah.
are moved.
Oh yeah.
And it's not that you're doing regular, like I'm lifting weights now, but like just getting out and dancing and joyful stuff. It's shaking loose that energy. And it's not just static energy. Energy is not static anywhere. There's nothing static about energy anywhere. Not the light bulb that we're seeing, not me moving, not the water, nothing static. You know.
The activity may go down, but it's not. Something's always moving. The blood's always pumping. Something's always moving.
So by us sitting here like this, we're not letting ourselves let any of that energy flow.
Right.
We're closing it down physically, emotionally, energetically.
And every once in a while, you'll read about somebody who's jogged their whole life, and then all of a sudden they drop dead.
We all die.
Massive heart attack. Right. That's the deal. I mean, what was that thing? You know, eat right, exercise, and die anyway. Isn't that the thing that was going around there a few years ago that you could see on the internet, you know? That's you.
I could swear I turned that off.
No, it's Mercury
There's one
retrograde.
of your chakras going off.
Yeah. It's going, wait a minute, I'm over here.
Oh, lovely.
Well, it's interesting because my folks had a dance band from actually they met in 1934, but they always had their band, and they were always playing. And some of the best exercise was dancing. I mean, I remember dancing with my uncle. Oh my gosh. And they had this one Swedish polka, and I just loved it when I was about 12 years old, because he would literally, at one point, they picked their partner up, and there was a way in the dance, it was very patterned kinds of stuff. But my feet would just be flying around him. I mean, he would just spin it around. I loved it, you know. But dancing, all in general, the dancing the way that we used to dance, partners, and those people are very healthy, for the most part. It's that sedentary lifestyle where you're not moving, and those areas are just not coming to light. They're just not being. So there is a piece of the physical that has to happen to clear the chakras. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind.
Clear the chakras and clear the energy for the rest of the body.
Yeah,
For
I
the
think
mind
so.
to work. And
Yeah.
For the soul.
Yeah. So if you did intention, I mean, you could go out and say, well, I'm going to start working out tomorrow. That's good, but I think the intention has to be there at the same time. If you can hook it up with your spiritual at the same time. That's what yoga is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm doing a coaching program right now, and she has suggested not only going out and walking, and I guess this has been probably nothing new to some people that have done coaching, but to actually do incantations or shout out I am statements.
While
as
you
you're-
walk.
While you're walking.
Yeah. I could see that because you're moving forward. There's everything's going on. You've got a lot of things lined up there to do that.
And you're taking deep breaths of oxygen. And
Right. Yeah. I finally found some yoga that I like.
did you?
It's it's called yin yoga. I don't like the hot yoga stuff. Why would anybody want to do that? What is that? 110 degrees or 15 degrees or something? You do that?
No, but I'd like to. It sounds wonderful.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, you go and tell me how it is, okay?
will.
Because it just does not sound good. It doesn't sound good to me at all. But I liked yin yoga because it was slow and it did a longer stretch. That felt really good to me. But that other stuff where I mean, if you go to a class and you're a beginner and you've been in it and you're in there with people who have done it for a long time, it's like, now you do this, now you do that, you know. And I'm still trying to figure out what I just pulled myself out of. I don't even know what it was I did, you know.
Isn't yoga like most things in life? It's a practice, so you got to figure out and just
Right.
keep doing it. And
Yeah,
it's never
it's
it's
something
never
that-
perfect. It's not yoga perfect.
No. Yeah. So anything else we want to talk about this? I think I really like looking at that because I think so many times people get into, I got to clear my chakras, and if what good is that doing if you clear your root chakra and then you go home and sit on your butt for the next 6 hours to be distracted by
Yeah,
watching
you
something.
clear the root chakra,
Yeah.
and then you go sit for 6 hours and do nothing, and as your sacral, which is your creative, and you're watching TV without being
Right.
creative, and then you're not breathing anymore.
Yeah.
So how can you shine? 'Cause you're just
Yeah,
sitting there.
yeah. So I just think it's a lot of food for thought. I think it brings up thinking about what you're doing physically at the time you're doing it. But people in the old days where we had all the electronics, I mean, you got up and you went. You got up and you did, because you had to, for one thing, or you wouldn't survive.
Well, yeah, it was if you wanted to go
want to
gossip.
survive,
If you wanted to go gossip with your neighbor, even 30 years ago, you'd had to get up off your butt and go to your girlfriend's house.
I used
do
to
it.
get off at my grandmother's. One of my jobs is to get off at my grandmother's house and keep her company for a couple hours every day, right after I got off the school bus. And I got off one day and she goes, well, come on, we're going to go see Mrs. So-and-so, an old Finnish lady, right? 2.5 miles later, I can remember the whole way going, aren't we there yet? Are we? She didn't think anything about it. She was in her 80s, and she lived to 94.
That tells you something.
I think it does. Well, in the time that we've got left, tell us where you are, because you've had to move.
I did, and a grand opening, I almost forgot about all of that.
I didn't.
I'm so glad you're on the ball.
I know.
Yes, I have moved. I am now currently located on Rancho, right off of Alexander, so it's 5715 West Alexander, Suite 140. The place is called Oasis to Zen Wellness Center, and this one has a little bit more services. I'm in there with 2 Reiki healers and 2 estheticians, and they're both holistic estheticians, so they don't use a lot of garbage, which I'm really grateful for.
Some people are very sensitive to scents, and there's some things they're very allergic to.
Well, one of the reasons.
And the holistic thing is the way to go.
Well, the reason that Sherry Petroni started Oasis to Zen was because she was in those places where they had the nail salon and the hair salon, and she had to deal with all the smells and the scents and the chemicals and the toxic people.
Mm-hmm.
And as she was getting herself more and more clear, she would find herself getting sick again from all the stuff she was working with. So she was trying to get herself clear, but she couldn't because of the chemicals and the people that she was around. So she's opened up Oasis to Zen. And it's like this holistic skincare, so there's not a lot of this garbage smell. There's essential oils and therapeutic grade stuff, along with what I'm doing. So we're looking at helping women. She's got microcurrent and a bunch of other.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I went up there the other day, which is when we started talking about the show, and I was fascinated. I thought it was I love the setup. And for those of you that don't live in Las Vegas, it's up in the northeast part of town, so it's way up there.
It's way up there by the old farm country. I mean, literally the ranch country. I mean, there's still, you drive around in different areas in the neighborhood.
There's a bare lot.
There's still horses.
That's right.
And
that's right.
So but it's a very nice place. And we're doing a lot of different events, including Reiki shares there, drumming, and Elena said she's going to be joining us.
Yeah. I would love to. What are you laughing about?
Because I can't wait.
Yeah, I know.
To have that there.
It was nice. It was nice up there. I have people up in that north part of town that have been waiting for something to come up there. So.
And I have decided this is going to be the year that people know what the word orthobionomy means.
Oh,
and
good.
Oasis to Zen is going to be the place that you go to get it.
Good for you. So just take a few seconds and say, what exactly is it that you do? You got to know what you do. Come on.
I do. I help people solve their pain problems.
Right.
Painlessly and often permanently.
Yeah, it is. I've seen it. I mean, you've used it a couple of times on me, and my knee stopped clicking, by the way.
Great.
Yeah, so that worked. Yeah.
The body heals itself, and that's what I do.
It does. Yeah.
I help the body heal itself.
And orthobionomy is actually it's quite big in overseas, right?
There is actually, it's an international thing. I don't know how big it is, but there are teachers there, and there are students there, and there are people that practice.
And it's a way to do deep tissue work without that deep tissue pain.
That's one of the many things. There's 11 principles with orthobionomy, and I don't want to have time to go to all of them, but it's principle-based.
And you're the only one in town right now.
I'm the only one that's registered orthobionomist here in Las Vegas right now.
Yeah.
So if you're not from Las Vegas and know what it is, still call me.
Yeah, it's good because you can do remote work, what we call remote work, right?
I'm not so good at it as there are other practitioners that
Yeah,
are.
but it can be done remotely.
Yes, no.
Yeah,
No, I have some great teachers that do it very remotely. We all have things that we're still learning, and that's one of the ones I'm learning.
Yeah,
It's
great.
It's a trust issue on myself.
So you're going to have an open house?
On the 21st of February. It's
Okay.
from 2 o'clock until 6 p.m.
Okay.
We'll have some demonstrations, some food, and surprises. Balloons. This whole thing.
All right, I'm in for the balloons.
You want the prizes because I'm going to give away a free massage.
You know, that's so funny because I went to pick my son up at the airport when he came in last week, and something at the last minute said, I'm going to go get him a balloon. So I stopped by and got him a welcome home balloon. And then I got down there and I couldn't get out of the car with him because they won't let you stop. So he just got in the car, and of course there's these balloons stuffed in the car. And he goes, who are those for? Are those for me? And I said, yeah. And he just said what George did. He goes, I'm in for the balloons. I haven't had those in years, so it was funny. It was funny. So anything else you're going to have on the 26th, did you say?
This week I'm doing a presentation on the 3 common myths of pain.
Okay.
And how to relieve it.
Okay.
And it's not by an elbow or drugs or surgery. Okay.
All right. Well, when I'm done here tonight at 7 o'clock, I'm going to be at Spirit Us Reiki Center, which is on 3300 Sunset Avenue, I believe. It's off the 95 in South Charleston. It's on the east side of town. So I'm going to go over there and we're going to do a circle. Yeah, do a circle. And we'll be back next week. We're going to have Mary Rose, the psychic, is going to come on here. And next week on the 3rd, after we get on here at about 5 o'clock, which is when we record this, the moon will have been full for about 2 hours, and it's a full moon in Leo. And it's a really interesting time. It's going to be very interesting. Superman. So anyway, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. You can catch us on Facebook at Soul Chat. And we also have our own YouTube channel called Soul Chat LV, spaces between Soul and Chat and LV. Thanks, Cozy, for showing up.
Thanks for having me.
Coming
It's
on. It
always
was
a
fun, as
pleasure.
always it is, And we'll see you next week. And think about, when you take a physical action, think about what all it's affecting in your body and your health at the same time. It's all connected. It always is. Have a great week. Thanks so much. Bye.
Holding on to things that might have been, knowing that this day will never come again.